Good evening. We've got 5 o'clock, so we're going to get started on time. With 4 candidates, we've got them answering 2 minutes each question, so we figured each question is going to take about 10 minutes. So we want to use our time as quickly as we can so we can get in as many questions as possible. My name is Amy Ruff. I'm the co-chair of the Democratic Women of Macon County. Jennifer Ellis, standing in the back, who's going to be recording. She is the other co-chair. We just want to welcome you tonight to the forum for the Illinois Congressional District candidates, Democratic candidates, and we're happy that you could come tonight. For those who can't attend, both Democratic Women co-chair Jennifer Ellis and our Millikan student Darren Albright are recording the event. Jennifer's is going to be live, and Darren is going to post his on the favor files probably by the end of the week. So if there's anybody that missed it and they want to listen in before they go vote, they can do that. Illinois 15 is a massive district covering all or part of 35 counties in central and southeastern Illinois. This district covers approximately 14,700 square miles, and these candidates here tonight have traveled most of it. We know how fortunate we are to have 4 exceptional candidates asking for your vote to represent Democrats on the November ballot against Republican Mary Miller. And we are excited to introduce them to you tonight. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, Reverend Courtney Carson, who will be leading the forum tonight.
Amen. I'm extremely excited to be here on tonight to help voters with their decision for the upcoming primary election on March 17th. And make sure you put that in your mental Rolodex or etch it in the bowels of your heart. Remember that date, March 17th. The rules for this evening are as follows. Questions tonight will be asked of all 4 candidates, and each will have approximately 2 minutes to give their answers. A timekeeper will be available to let them know when they have 1 minute and 30 seconds and 10 seconds left to speak. We ask candidates to be mindful of time, so we ask as many questions as possible in this short time we have together. We will rotate the order of candidates for each question to allow different candidates to be first or last to speak. During introductions and closing remarks, candidates will have 3 minutes each. In order to manage our time effectively, we respectfully ask attendees to hold comments and speak directly with candidates at the end of our event. We'll begin by allowing, give me a second. We'll begin by allowing our beloved sister to go first. Here we go. Thank you so much. To introduce yourself first.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Todd, and I have been a nurse for the past 32 years and worked everything in nursing that you can except for birth and babies, so I'm good on all that. I got into this race when I found out Mary Miller ran unopposed in 24. I started doing my research as soon as I found out she ran unopposed. In January of 25, I started my first rounds of going out to meeting in the districts. My first one was in Logan County, up in Lincoln, and I've been on the road ever since. So the past 14 months going on now. Well, and I also found out that she does not believe in bringing money home. And that was the biggest issue that I, at that time, found. And that this district is in desperate need for that money to be brought back. We have so much infrastructure that needs to be redone that the only way some of the small towns and villages and townships are going to be able to do that is with the help of federal government money. It's our taxes. We should be able to bring our taxes back home to be able to do these projects. We still have lead pipes, cast iron pipes, and clay pipes in a lot of these areas that need to be redone and quit having frozen water mains in the wintertime. We also need new water treatment plants, sewer treatment plants. That's what all that money is for. And then in July, the big ugly bill passed. And my focus was on the health care, the Medicare and the Medicaid cuts that are going to be happening. And those are things that I will do to be able to get things back to where we need them to be. And I've been listening, I've been driving around, looking at things, and I understand what everybody's going through, and I've been through that also. I've been on Medicaid, I've been on SNAP benefits, and I've been on unemployment. I know what those struggles are like. And I know what everyone here has gone through at some point, and what others are going to go through.
Thank you so much. Next candidate.
Hi there, I'm Randy Raley, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm not running for Congress for myself, I'm running for my grandchildren, because it's about time we fight for this country. It's being stolen right out from under our eyes. I believe I'm qualified to be up here because I'm a 40-year trained communicator. I'm a former farmer that spent 5 years on a farm, and I milk the cows and slaughter the hogs on the hottest day of the year and on the coldest day of the year too. I'm qualified because I used to be a union steward for J.I. Case in Bettendorf, Iowa, United Steelworkers, and I fought for my union brothers and sisters. And I'm qualified because I'm the only grandparent up here. I have 5 beautiful grandchildren. 2 of them identify with the LGBTQ+ community, and I'm absolutely petrified what will happen to them if they fall in love with the wrong person. I have a platform that's called Rebuilding Rural America. I want more people to move in and move out. Nikki Budzinski in the district right next to ours has brought in over $150 million to her district through good paying jobs. Mary Miller has done none of that. Part of my platform is broadband for every house in this district, no matter how isolated. We can shop from home, learn from home, work from home, and our small businesses can be on a global arena. I'm also for a single payer health care. There's a mental health desert in this district. We need mental health in this district, and that includes addiction and rehab. I'd like to break up big ag. I'm finding that that's what's keeping the farmers down in our district, and Mary Miller takes money from big ag. But the future's up to you. You're going to have to decide who has the fire and the passion and the wherewithal to first take on Mary Miller and then MAGA in Washington. I had somebody come up to me the other day, they said that they wouldn't vote for me because I'm angry. You're damn right I'm angry. I'm angry. There's no money for Medicaid but money to bomb Iran. There's no money for SNAP benefits but money for Argentina. We can't keep our local hospitals and our local nursing homes open because there's no money. Bob Marley said, stand up, rise up. This is our World War II, guys. This is our Vietnam. We have got to make the courage and the sacrifice to take our country back. And if you elect me, I will run my campaign in a quote of John Lewis, we will have good trouble.
Thank you, Randy. Next candidate.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Paul Davis. I am a doctor of veterinary medicine and a bass fisherman. The highest elected office I've ever held was the vice president of my bass club, and full disclosure, that was unopposed. I'm running for Congress in the 15th district because I am concerned that as a district and as a nation, our politics have lost their center. They've become much too extreme, too divisive, and too disconnected from all of us that it's supposed to serve. I'm running because our small businesses and our family farms are the backbone of the 15th district. They deserve fair markets, they deserve reliable infrastructure, they deserve broadband that actually works, and they absolutely deserve policies that don't change with every election cycle. I'm running because as a veterinarian, I'm a scientist, and I'm very concerned about the anti-science culture that continues to develop. Public health is not a partisan issue. Medical and scientific research should not be political footballs. I'm also running because we deserve a representative in this district that represents everybody in this district and doesn't divide individuals in this district. So I will commit to you as your representative in this district to represent you, not corporations, not a president, not special interests, but you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Kyle Nudo. I am from Alton, Illinois. And a few things to know about me is that I am rooted in Illinois farming. My mother's side of the family had a hog farm in Pike County, and that farm was where I learned my values. Now, one of the big reasons I'm running is because when I look at Mary Miller, and when I look at what she's done and what she's deliberately not done for this district, these sorts of things, to me, are absolute violations of the values that we were raised, you and I, here to support and uphold in this district, in this state. I'm a union guy. I'm a member, in fact, of 3 labor unions, all under the AFL-CIO umbrella, and I'm proud to say that I am endorsed by the AFL-CIO as such. I am a labor organizer, a labor activist. I have done the work, folks. I have initiated and spearheaded national labor initiatives that have delivered millions of dollars for my sisters and brothers. And if you ask me, that's the kind of job that a congressman that a congressman would do for you. Protect you. Think about you and your needs at all times. Now, I can also say that as far as this district, when I think of what our farms need, my grandfather, my namesake, Kyle White, taught me a heck of a lot about farming. Growing up on Nob Hill Farm in Pike County, as I mentioned before, I can't wait to be the biggest thorn in the side of monopoly power interests like Monsanto Bayer, like Tyson Foods, and you name it. These entities are why our family farms are breaking, why then data centers are gobbling up our land and destroying it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. I'd like to say thank you all for having the courage to run. First question is around economic justice. Poverty remains widespread within the American society. Over 40 million people, or 12.7% of Americans, continue to live below the federal poverty line. That includes 15 million, or 1 in 5 children. Many Americans over the past year have become more food insecure with the rising cost of food, housing, and medical bills, not including the overall rising cost of living. What are 3 things you would do to make life more affordable for people?
Well, number one, get big money out of politics. That's probably the thing. Overturn Citizens United would be one real good thing, because when we get all of these big corporations to be able to control basically what we see, what we eat, what we watch, what we're able to read, then we've lost our focus. One of the things I would do is I would expand the SNAP program. I would make sure that our kids get free breakfast and lunch at schools. I would break up big ag and decrease farm costs, increase competition, would do that. I would have incentives to build and maintain local grocery stores in the store desert that we have in this district. Some people drive 50 miles to get fresh food. I would also think about co-op, where one town can have a canning, so they can, and another one has a slaughterhouse, and another one has a farmer's market, and they work together locally and regionally instead of giving all of their money to big ag. Let's talk about housing. I would expand loan grants like FHA, USDA, and VA that would help first-time buyers and medical and health professionals and teachers. Let's get kids fresh out of college and get them signed to a contract to come to rural America, and at the end of a 5-year contract, we eliminate their student debt. But I believe that it all is intertwined. When I'm talking about building rural America, let's bring jobs into this district so people can afford to have groceries in their house. And that includes infrastructure with roads and power and water and broadband. Like I said, I believe broadband would help people work from home, which will allow them to maybe afford more groceries. Like I said, we have to make sure that, number one, we have grocery stores available in this district. And I think if we would work with a co-op and start breaking up big ags and bringing some of that buying power down to the local rural area, I think it would help.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. Like Randy said, I think expanding SNAP benefits makes a ton of sense. Absolutely increasing funding for affordable housing makes sense as well. Now, how do we pay for this? We can absolutely raise taxes on billionaires and decrease taxes on working families and lower income individuals. We can also advocate for Medicare for all. Healthcare costs are astronomical in this country and are only going up. Short term, while we're working on Medicare for all, we can certainly expand or reinstate and expand Medicaid funding for our rural hospitals and communities. We can also go ahead and extend and expand the ACA tax credits. The last thing I would say, certainly we've got to put more money into working families and lower income families' pockets. Best way to do that is advocating for increasing the federal minimum wage. Thank you.
Well, folks, if you're looking at my website, kyleforillinois.com, if you're looking at all of my media, you will see that from day one, I have been saying we need to restore the American dream and make it affordable, achievable, and attainable for all, for everyone. Now, this is one of the things that I consider heartland values. No one wants to be, as my grandfather would have said, on the dole, taking money from our Social Security or from Medicaid or Medicare. But I have to say, folks, these are not entitlements the way that the right might want you to think. These are not the wedge issues that they're trying to make people afraid of. You've earned those things. As a union person, I'm going to tell you, we need to get back to pensions and these sort of things. For me, restoring the American dream is incredibly multifaceted. I believe that healthcare is a human right. That means Medicare for all, that means single-payer healthcare similar to this. Medicaid saved my girlfriend, my partner Tiffany's life because she doesn't have a big income. It's there for you. These support systems are incredibly critical. When I talk about public education, I believe that public education, one of the most expensive things, right here in Decatur, I went to school at Millikan, some decades ago, and it was $22,000 a semester. That's half a year, right? I now have 4 degrees. Education is one of the worst costs that our kids have, right? If public education were treated as a public good, as it once was, then we would be at the place of where that was affordable again. But the minimum wage needs to be much, much higher, folks. We need to, I see a stop sign. I'll stop.
Thank you. Pass the mic down. Thank you.
Tag, I'm in. We have to be able to afford to be able to afford. And that's the main crux of everything. Our healthcare prices are out of this world right now. Even with Medicare, you pay one price in one area of the country and pay a different price in another area of the country for it. We need to have more centralized, more above the board pricing wise that is everywhere, not just depending on where you live. You get the same care, why should it cost more? And so that's one of the main things. We need to increase our SNAP benefits. We need to allow more people that are on the risk of being on it and not being on it. We need to be able to allow them to be on those care, because it makes a difference. It makes a difference from when that next meal comes from. We have to be able to increase the minimum wage. Yes, Illinois is kind of up in the forefront of that with $15 an hour, but it's still not enough for how everything is going right now. We need to have a workable wage. Even as a nurse, I started off with $11.20 an hour and I thought I was making $1 million. But we have to be able to do the work and get paid for our work. And that's how we can really make things different. We need to start having our farmers markets more accessible. We need to start buying from our local farmers. to be able to get the fresh fruit. We need to have more of the SNAP benefits to be able to pay for that fresh fruit and vegetables that they're starting to do now.
Thank you, Jennifer. Give them a round of applause for the first question. Second question is around political violence. Political violence has been drastically increasing over the past year. ICE has been removing people without cause from their homes and jobs. We have seen several innocent people be brutally murdered by the ICE agents without any accountability being taken. LGBTQIA+ individuals are having their basic rights challenged and in some areas revoked. Most recently in Kansas, where the state has revoked all state-issued IDs of transgender individuals. Women have lost their right to make their own choices over their bodies. Question number 2, what steps, if any, will you take to ensure that women, people of color, the LGBTQIA+ individuals, and others marginalized communities obtain full equality?
The first step is running for Congress because our current representative does nothing but stoke division, period. I will not do that. I will do everything in my power to stoke inclusion and build bridges across communities, do everything I can to improve communication and absolutely turn down the political rhetoric, the violence. ICE absolutely needs to be defunded and reconstructed. We all want secure borders, but we don't want what we have now. Certainly our citizens should feel safe, and what we're doing to valued members of our community is inhumane and not productive at all. It harms everyone. But broadly, I think we just, again, like I say in the start of my speech, we've lost our center. And what I mean with that is we have lost the ability to see the humanity in every individual and appreciate what our diversity brings to the table for all of us.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Well, this is an incredibly fraught topic. As far as ICE, if it were me, I would pull the plug on it. If we're talking about the Department of Homeland Security, I would pull the plug on it. We have seen that the DHS doesn't do its job. It doesn't hit any of the markers that even Republicans, there was a probe in 2015 that said, that they found that, led by Republicans, that DHS hasn't hit any of its 5 goals. And that was over a decade ago. We don't need that level of policing that is complete overreach that we are seeing. We mentioned a few of the people who have been murdered in the streets, but over 30 people have lost their lives due to ICE, and many of their names are not spoken. We learned from Dr. King in the 60s that there can be no social justice without economic justice. We talked on the last question a little bit about that. When people don't have, if they can't afford their lives, they can't afford to be free. They can't afford to speak up. If they're chained to their job or they're chained to their health insurance, they are at risk for being leveraged against. This is one of the big drivers of the violence that we're seeing. Then let's talk about trust. We have seen this president over the last 10 plus years foment this violence by chipping away at trust. We've seen the Republican Party over the course of my life chip away at trust. We had a Republican president in the 80s that said that you can't trust government. Now we have voters that won't vote in this district. That is one of the things we need to address. If we're going to beat Mary Miller, we have to organize and we have to make sure that people are excited about voting once again. And by giving them that candidate, I think we will.
Thank you so much. Please pass the mic.
ICE was first started, it was actually doing a good job. And then this all happened a year ago. and the amount of destruction that they have done is apprehensible, that it needs to stop. It needs to be completely stopped, completely done away with, and rebuilt for exactly what it was supposed to do to begin with. One of the areas that I am very petrified about is the violence against the LGBTQ plus community. I have a transgender daughter, and I'm actually petrified of what's going to be happening to her, what could happen. And, you know, Mama Bear mode comes into effect, and want to be able to protect her and do as much as I can. She deserves to be happy, and that's all I want for her, is to be happy. And that means me getting out there and kicking some butt and making sure that everything gets passed where they have their rights that actually need to be, you know, codified and in law. Then that's what I'm going to do. Same thing with women. You don't tell me what I can and cannot do with my own body. You cannot do that. And we need to have that codified as a law, stating that, to be done and over with. Our mothers, grandmothers, and grandmothers worked too hard for us to go back to where they were. And we have to keep up that fight. And that is what I will do.
Thank you.
Well, this is kind of a two-part question. The first part is I would impeach Kristi Noem. I would also impeach Tom Homan and anybody who has anything to do with this disastrous part of the Homeland Security. I'm not so sure how secure Homeland is with them. No one wants an open border, but let's make sure that we have border security and not cruelty and chaos. I don't know about you, but in Matthew, Jesus says, what you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do to me. I don't think he would be happy about sending 5-year-olds to detention camps and all of the stuff going on, American citizens assassinated in the streets. Let's protect our farm workers when it comes to that, even though they're not citizens. When it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, I have 2 granddaughters that identify with that, and as I said in my opening statement, I am absolutely terrified what's going to happen to them if they happen to fall in love with the wrong person. Here's what I would promise you as your representative. It would be a NUNYA representative, and that means whatever you do is none of my business. None of my business. The conversations that women have with their doctors, none of my business. I don't have a uterus, I'm not qualified, okay? Conversations that people have in private is none of my business. And I've said before, if you don't look like me, love like me, pray like me, or vote like me, I will still represent you because you are a member of my district. Another thing, when I was talking about broadband for every home in this district, say there's a gay kid in Fisher, Illinois. I don't imagine there's a big gay community in Fisher, Illinois, but if we can plug him into the internet, maybe he'll find somebody that he can socialize with that finds his values. So it's none of my business what your conversation with your doctor is. Again, if you are in my district and you don't love like me, I will still represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3. Would you be willing to support the Equal Rights Amendment being codified into our nation's Constitution?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I talk about my mother all the time, folks. If you've seen the website, these guys are sick of hearing about my mom. I can promise you that. My mother, Carol White Nudo, she was a single parent and I was an only child, and she made me exactly who I am today. My values are an echo of her. I carry her here in my heart every second of every day. Now, she, as I mentioned before, ran a charity. What I didn't mention is that she fought Phyllis Schlafly. Does everybody remember her? Okay. If everybody remembers her, then you remember that she's from Alton, my hometown. And, you know, I've got plenty of good stories of my mom coming home from Zonta or something like that, some women's group meeting where she'll tell me just what went down, dressing down Miss Phyllis Schlafly. So, yeah, Schlafly eliminated the ERA almost single-handedly, right? I see some nodding over there. You are damn right. I think it's far past time to do that. And I would also say, to add on to that, that we need to codify women's health rights and abortion rights into law as well.
Yes, and double yes, that all needs to be done. As I said earlier, we fought hard for this, and we shouldn't be still fighting for it in 2026. As I said, our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, they did all that fighting. They did all that hard work. We need to continue that and continue to fight for women's rights, because we have those rights and we deserve those rights and we need those rights. We need to be able to, we can be president one day. Yes, we will have a female president one day. We will be there and we will get there. And that is because we have to lift each other up. And in order to do that, we have to pass these laws. We have to make sure they're codified and that they are proven that they're going to be working, and we know they're going to work. And we just have to make sure we hold those accountable for when they don't work. And a lot of things that happen is that things kind of slide by, but we need to make sure we start keeping the others accountable for when they do not follow the rule of the law. And we have to do that. We just can't just willy-nilly things anymore. We have to be able to stand up and shout and be persistent. Be the kind of woman that they think nobody should be. And instead of being at home and keeping your mouth shut, now is not the time to do that. We need to make our voices heard and loud, and even louder. And that's what we need to do, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
I don't know about you, but I find it strange that we have to have an equal rights amendment for over half of the population. Doesn't that strike you as funny? And I remember this battle happened back when I was in high school. So the answer is overwhelmingly yes. I would support an equal rights amendment. And like I said, it breaks my heart that we even have to be addressing this. I would also codify Roe versus Wade. I would also make sure that Planned Parenthood is completely funded, and making sure that women's services are accessible. That's one of the problems that we have in this district. It is so sparse that we have, I like to call them medical deserts, where you can go miles and miles and miles and not be able to get any treatment. And I think maybe the answer to that is we have mobile places out that driving around the district that are staffed by trained professionals to make sure that women get the care they need in rural America. But again, it just strikes me as strange that we're having an equal rights amendment for more than half the population. I wonder how us men would feel if the shoe was on the other foot. So absolutely yes, let's codify Roe versus Wade. Let's move on beyond this conversation, because like I said, I don't get it.
Absolutely yes. And I will tell you, I am here today, and who I am today, because of the powerful women that I've been blessed to be surrounded by in my life. Starts with the first voice I always hear, my mother, who was an executive director of the Glen Ed Food Pantry in Edwardsville for over 30 years, who always told me, you owe some rent for being on this planet. The other tremendous influence in my life is in the back here with a camera. That's my wife, Karen, my partner, my boss in a lot of ways at work and at home. So that is another voice that I hear. Now at work, I have a practice manager that has been with our practice for 15 years. Katie is a huge influence, a shoulder, a voice, a check on me constantly. And we'll fall to this campaign. My campaign staff is made up entirely of females. I have six voices in my ear all the time. So absolutely, 1,000% we need to codify the ERA.
Thank you. This question is around criminal justice reform. Many states have curtailed strict sentencing laws, reduce prison populations, and consequently save taxpayers' dollars. Likewise, many members of Congress support comprehensive criminal justice reform. Question number 4, what steps do you support, if any, to prevent both missed shootings and everyday gun violence in our country? To prevent both mass shootings and everyday gun violence in our country.
Yes, I'm for the Second Amendment, but we don't need AK-47s out in the streets. We just do not need that. We need to get those out off the streets once again, like they were. We need to make sure that people get the mental health that they need. A lot of these shootings deal with mental health issues, and we have to be able to catch it before it escalates to this point. That's one of the hardest things that we can do, is finding the people that can help the people that need it, and making sure they're out there, and making sure we get to know everyone, that the kids that have been bullied, kids that have felt isolated, those are the kids that we gotta focus on. Plus we gotta focus on all the kids, but besides all the kids, that they need a safe place to talk, and we need to be able to give that to them. And that's where we need to expand our Medicaid programs and for mental health. Those are the issues that continue to really bog us down with the gun issues. I also believe we need to have longer waiting periods, in-depth background checks, that we have to be able to really understand that person. And we need to be able to get rid of the ghost guns. We need to be able to get rid of the Saturday night specials. Is that gonna be hard? Yes, it's gonna be extremely hard. But it's something we gotta start doing. We've got, no matter who you are, have all the guns you want. I prefer not to have any. But I want to be able to be safe with you having them also.
Thank you.
I spent a lot of my time on a farm. I had a gun rack in my truck, a gun rack over my bed, and Saturday afternoon I would ride into town and I would buy comic books and milkshakes and play pinball and shoot pool and get a box of shells for my 22. My 22 was a really good friend of mine. I spent a lot of time with my 22 when I was on a farm. But with that in mind, we've got to get big money out of politics, folks. We have got to get the NRA and all of those people who subsidize all of this to get out of politics. We have also got to make sure, I'm sure you know, that a vast majority of Americans favor some kind of stricter gun laws, whether it be ID checks or whatever. Maybe think about bringing back the assault weapons ban. But if there are that many people in America who are looking for stronger background checks and all of that, then that's where we reach across the aisle to those people on the other side who may represent some of those people and find some kind of negotiation. But the problem that we have had so far is there's been no negotiation on the other side. No give at all. So, get to your question, it's all about mental health. We need, as I have repeated before, there's not enough mental health facilities in this district to maybe catch something like that. So, as a former gun owner and a guy who learned how to drive at 12 years old on a farm, I can say that I'm not coming to get anybody's guns, but I want to make sure that the people who are not supposed to have guns don't have guns.
Thank you.
All right, I am a FOID card holder, but I would shoot myself in the foot probably if I really went shooting, so I won't claim to be any great hunter. I mentioned I'm a bass fisherman. Those guys all get released after the tournament, so I don't even like to hurt them as a veterinarian. But I'm a FOID card holder. I absolutely am pro Second Amendment. There are surely some reasonable things we can do. I agree with Randy and Jennifer. Expanding funding for mental health, access to mental health for everybody is key. No reason we can't expand. and speed up background checks. One of the things that I find talking with my conservative friends is that, well, it takes too long and they don't want to go through it. So surely we can find some middle ground on how we can make that happen. I would support an assault weapons ban. I think that's going to be a hard pull in the 15th district. So, you know, that would be one we'd have to work and try to find common ground on. Can we limit magazines, something along those lines? And last but not least, I want to make it very clear, because I have been questioned, will you take money from the NRA? And the answer is absolutely not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, since we're talking about the NRA, yes, absolutely. Their power is far too strong in this country. I agree. Mental health leads to a lot of the criminal records in this country as well. We need to think about mental health as a necessity, just like you need to see your eye doctor or you need to see a dentist. We don't treat mental health as a normal thing for most people. It should be as commonplace as getting a toothbrush, because you don't want to have cavities. I feel very strongly about that. We've talked a little bit here about extending background checks. Absolutely. I think that it should take longer. Most of the laws that we have in place now are because of the NRA. The philosophies that we have in place now, most gun owners, most FOID card owners believe the way that they believe because of decades of the influence of the NRA, and they have one purpose, and that is to sell more guns and sell more ammunition. And I don't think any industry should be dictating the way that we think as Americans. I think we should be able to be free enough to think for ourselves. Now, part of the question was about prison reform. I think that we also need to end the prison pipeline. I think that it's intertwined with education and healthcare. These costs and the poverty that come from these costs are part of why too many people are in law enforcement systems. And the way that the law enforcement system is constructed today in America is to keep people in it. Why is that? Well, because we have a for-profit prison system, and I think that should not exist in this country. It should be something run by the taxpayers, not companies.
Thank you. Starting with Randy. Question number 5 and 6 are on healthcare. 30 million Americans lack health insurance, and millions more receive inadequate care and cannot afford their cost. Elected officials at all levels are divided on the future of healthcare in our country. Question number 5. With the rising healthcare costs being a key issue during recent government funding negotiations, what do you believe is the solution to bringing down the cost of healthcare?
Let's go back and say getting money out of the election process. That would be number 1, overturning Citizens United. Number 2, I do believe in a single-payer health plan. There are a number of countries doing a number of different kind of plans. I've been doing some research, and I think Canada's works really well for us. When you're born, you get a card, you take it with you as long as you live. I'm also, again, concerned about mental health in this district and addiction care. I think a single-payer health plan, 65% of the bankruptcies farmers have due to medical debt. Let's get farmers out of the insurance business. I was talking to a small businessman the other day. He says, "What can you do for me?" And I said, "One thing I can do for you is we can do a single-payer health plan where small business is not involved in the insurance business anymore, and you can go about hiring new people." We need to restore the planned cuts that have been happening. We need to expand eligibility and coverage. We need to focus again on rural access to mental health. If we had broadband in this district for everybody, you could do telehealth. How about mobile? Get some mobile health clinics staffed by professionals that go around the district and say you have an emergency, God forbid, a mass shooting or something like that. They could be there in a matter of minutes or hours, providing good mental health. But again, we need to start working toward a single payer plan. We are the only country in this world where this is happening, and you know why? Money in politics. The other countries of the world don't have insurance lobbies. Let's get the insurance business, let's get the insurance people out of the insurance business. Let's take back our right for health care. It is a right, and it's a right that we should be dealing with right now. Single payer plan for all.
Okay, I agree with Randy. Healthcare is a human right, should be a right for all of us in this country. And like Randy, yes, we need to get money out of politics, and I would support Medicare for all. Now, in the meantime, we are gonna, like I mentioned in a previous answer, going to have to do something. So that is going to be to enhance or expand Medicaid funding, especially in this district for our rural hospitals and nursing homes. We're also going to have to extend the ACA tax credit and ideally expand those. Healthcare wasn't cheap prior to the ACA tax credits expiring. Overall, we spend $5 trillion annually as a nation on healthcare. And for just a little bit of perspective, that is twice what most other developed nations spend. We spend about $16,000, $17,000 per person in this country on health care. So when you talk about making life more affordable, improving things for everyone, if we did that, if we took the healthcare equation, that large expense out of it for everybody and simplified things. You're born, you go on it, you die, you go off of it. We all have the same plan. That would improve the quality of life, I think, for everybody in this district, and absolutely be the number one thing we could do to make life more affordable and improve the quality of life for everyone. Thank you.
Well, I think all four of us are going to try and organize this room towards single-payer healthcare. Here we're all telling you the reasons you should believe in it, right? I'll give you a couple more. Not only is it inefficient at the costs of it, if you are paying into, how many people are paying either like a Medicare expansion or an add-on or things like that, or if you have your own health insurance because your boss isn't paying for it. Efficiency-wise, it's cheaper if you were just paying through your taxes. A very small amount would go, but it's also a lot illogical. As a union person, folks, I don't know how many people here have negotiated a contract before, a collective bargaining agreement, but when you have the golden handcuffs attaching you to that job that you will never be able to leave because of your health insurance, maybe the job sucks, maybe the conditions suck, maybe the pay sucks, but you can't ever get those things up because of the health insurance that you desperately need to keep because of your diabetes or whatever. I'm a diabetic, by the way. In any case, we need to make sure that we understand that these costs are being passed off to us. We are carrying the costs of the healthcare system. It is unfair. They make you think that you're lifting yourself up by your bootstraps, but no, folks, it is a right to be taken care of, that your health is a right. Thank you. Thank you.
This one is really close to my heart, healthcare. First and foremost, we need to make sure nurses are nurses again, considered professionals, since they took that distinction away from us. In order to be able to have our nurse practitioners, our nurse midwives, to be able to have those individuals in our communities and in our clinics and in the mobile clinics, we have to have those nurses to be able to do that. We have to be able to be professionals again. I worked really hard for my degree, and so has everyone else. I am also a big proponent of Medicare for all. We need to have a single payer system to where everyone gets the right to have health care that they deserve and they need no matter what their zip code is and what the procedure is. How many hoops you have to jump through to get approval. That's what needs to be done. And we have to be able to take care of everyone. We need to have the empathy. We need to have the compassion. We need to have all that back again to be able to provide that care. And a single payer system will help tremendously, because then the doctors are on the phone yelling at the insurance companies, the nurses are on the phone yelling at the insurance companies, trying to get something approved that the patient desperately needs. We need to get back to taking care of the patients and not the insurance companies.
Thank you. Question number 6. What steps, if any, will you take to address health inequalities for people of color, women, LGBTQIA individuals, people with disabilities, and other marginalized communities?
It really falls back to my original statement, is we have to appreciate everybody is equal and work the same way toward their health care. Health care is a human right, as we've mentioned, so funding is the big thing, and if we can get Medicare for all going, that would be even better. Again, everybody has the same plan. You're born, you go on it, you die, you go off of it. No questions asked. We also need to make sure, as part of that, that mental health is appreciated as health care. That's not separate. That should all be part of our funding. So that would broadly be what I would do, is just absolutely make sure we fund everybody equally. Now, on a less aspirational level, we need to expand Medicaid, extend Medicaid funding to rural hospitals and underserved areas. We absolutely can do that, and hopefully make things more accessible and affordable for everybody.
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, Medicaid saved my girlfriend Tiffany's life. She was a ballet dancer. She works in mental health now. The picture of health. But because of her low income, she qualified for Medicaid. She's also a person with disability. I grew up working with people with disability. I want to make sure that when we do eventually have a single payer health plan, whatever the model is, that it takes into account the individual. It can't be colorblind. We've learned, I hope, the lesson about color blindness, that we actually have to take the individual into consideration, their specific needs, whether it's their color, their creed, what have you. There are going to be very specific things that are individualistic, and that we have to make sure that we make room in a system for that. I don't know how many folks know the term the social model of disability, but that's something for you to Google when you get home. Our world doesn't make it easy for people with disability. Our stairs, the everyday life that someone with disability has. We need to make sure that our healthcare system takes that into account as well, and that folks with specific needs are not dinged for it on top of being ill as well.
I'm going to go into this a little bit of a different direction. We need to address it education-wise. We need to make sure our medical students, our nursing students, know that they cannot discriminate the person for who they are. It needs to start there. Because right now we have physicians and nurses that do that. And we have to stop that. That's where it needs to stop. We've got to get the teachings in the schools to come up to modern times. We need to get that mindset changed. We need to be able to relate to every individual one-on-one, no matter who they are. That's what has to be done. We also have to be able to actually believe when someone says there's something wrong. I know a lot of the women in here, anytime you go to the doctor and say, oh, this is wrong. Oh no, it's just in your head. No, it's not. There is something wrong. And we need to have our doctors to start believing in us that what we say is going on with our bodies, there's something wrong. That's how we can get this to change. It's not going to be easy. You've got people that are set in their ways. I'm set in my ways. But we have to be able to get that type of change going. We need to have education classes for soon-to-be doctors on people that are obese, how to take care of obese patients, because they don't know how to. How to take care of women of color when they are pregnant, because they don't know how to. And the mortality rates that go up higher and higher and higher because they don't know how and they don't believe the women. That's what we have to do.
Thank you.
Well, the first thing we have to do, guys, is take back Congress and restore all of the funds. I don't ever want to hear the initials DEI again. I think that's the first thing. Number one, you have to realize that this district goes all the way over to Venice and East St. Louis in Illinois, so that is going to be a problem for somebody who takes over this district. I have a plan that I've been trying to work out, run it by some unions. Let's say we have nurses coming out of college, doctors, counselors, they're coming out of college and they are strapped with student debt. What if we get them to sign a contract to maybe go into Venice and East St. Louis and provide free health care, which is a right, and once they fulfill their obligation to that contract, we will take care of their debt. So, again, we have got to take back Congress. That's the first thing, and we have to take it back in a way that there is no discussion about this, because our inner cities has been forgotten about for so long. I remember being 12 years old in 1968 and seeing my cities go up in flames. And I just want to make sure that they are not forgotten, along with this big, expansive rural district that we have here. Again, it touches over into East St. Louis and to Venice. So I want to make sure that I represent each person in my district, and that includes those of color. And again, health care for all, where it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter who you are covered. So again, let's see if we can find some financial incentives to bring good, trained, well-educated people into the district, no matter whether it's in Fisher, Illinois, or if it's in East St. Louis. And again, to make this happen, we have to take back Congress.
Thank you. Next question. It's around climate change and the environment. Human emissions of greenhouse gases, primarily through the burning of fossil fuels, are making long-term changes to the climate by raising the average global temperature. Over the past several years, we have seen an increase in hurricanes and wildfires that have devastated several areas of our country. While it hurts everyone, the most vulnerable are low-income and marginalized communities. What are your views on clean, renewable energy?
Well, folks, I am a bit of an eco-warrior, I guess, myself. I have, in my life, owned 3 EVs. I'm driving the 3rd one right now. It's out in the parking lot. So, you know, when I bought my first one, I have to say, one of the key reasons was, well, saving money, right? Just like anybody. But part of that comes from the cost of the gas. I think we just saw some actions in the Middle East just recently that's going to really do some bad things to what you folks and what folks across our district pay for gas. I think we should be out of that business completely. I don't see any reason why we're burning fossil fuels at all. We have enough, we have the capacity, well, not today, we don't, but we have the ability in this country to be able to create enough energy renewably for all of our needs. And anybody that's telling you otherwise is lying to you, because they're making money from you paying for natural gas or coal or something else. So what are my views? Well, my views are that we need to stop sending so much of our money overseas to countries that have us by the throat. I don't think that that's patriotic to be doing that. Another view of mine is that we need to immediately end the federal subsidy to our oil companies. I don't know if you know this, but they enjoy that subsidy because they claim that the oil business is risky. It's a risky business. Hell no, it is. They make it is the one most profitable business on the planet. So don't cry crocodile tears to me. We should cut that cord too. Those are some of my views.
We have the capabilities now. We need more renewable energy. We need that to happen. I'm fascinated by the turbines. Every time I drive by them, I just kind of think there's just this neat thing. And we've caused this problem. We need to fix this problem. And renewable energy is the way we're going to be able to fix it. The solar fields, we need them, but they don't necessarily need to be on farmland. We had talked before, most of us, that we have industrial parks that are no longer being used. Put solar fields there. Put them on top of buildings. We have to be able to take care of ourselves, but most of all, we have to be able to take care of our earth and take care of our country. I want to be able to go to the Grand Canyon and see the stars. And to be able to do that, we have to change how we run and how we get from place to place. I got gas today. It was $3.05 a gallon. And I knew that all became because of what's been happening the last few days. And it's probably going to get even higher. So we have to be able to find alternative methods and not rely on everyone else and just to rely on ourselves. In order to do that, we need the renewable energy.
Well, I'm sounding like a broken record. We've got to take back Congress. That's the number one thing. I don't know if you guys are old enough. I participated in the very first Earth Day back in 1970, okay? I won't tell you how old I was, but I was on the farm and my grandfather was a good stat of the earth. He made sure that he did things that were environmentally safe. Do you remember pictures of Los Angeles many, many years ago where you couldn't even see out your window? And now it's pretty clean. Why? Because we've had rules and regulations that this administration has decided are no longer applicable. I do believe that the future of power in this country should be solar, should be wind, should be geothermal. And just look what China's done. China is building windmills faster than you can imagine, and they don't seem to have any problem with energy. So taking back Congress, let's get the EPA fully funded again. Let's get those regulations in place again. And, I do believe that it comes down, again, to money in politics. But this is something that, oh, by the way, while we're here, I want to give you a quote from our current representative about climate change. She doesn't believe in it because God tells the sun what to do. I think she skipped a couple of science classes in high school. That's all I can say. But growing up on a farm, my grandfather taught me good ecological ways to take care of the earth. I believe that, and my grandfather always said too, there's going to come a time in the future where the earth is going to shake us off like water on a dog. And I want to make sure that we don't get to that time. This is I believe, one of the most important things that face my grandchildren and their children is making sure that our water is clean and our air is clean and our data centers are gone.
We're all going to sound like broken records on this a bit, but first of all, climate change is real. I think we need to announce that loudly and stand up for that. We absolutely can do this. Not easy. We have to do it as an all hands on deck approach. Absolutely solar, wind, EVs. Certainly, we just broadly have to decrease, obviously, our our reliance on fossil fuels. Conservation farming practices, decreasing ag runoff, all of these things kind of fold together into our stewardship of the environment. When we're talking about solar, we certainly don't want that over good productive farmland. We've got plenty of parking lots we can cover it, Walmart roofs we can cover with it. I was at a meeting with the Southern Illinois University's community outreach program in East St. Louis, and they were actually talking about a solar project in East St. Louis and putting local folks to work on that project. So I thought that was a good way to go. That's going to be a win-win. No reason we can't do that all over the district. Beyond that, doing things responsibly when we are building affordable housing for folks, that make sure we do start those projects with these conservation practices in mind, with solar on the roofs of these newer projects. I think those would all be thoughts that we could do, and that we can certainly advocate and get behind all of that as part of our funding when we build these.
Thank you so much. I want to go back to economic justice. What steps, if any, will you take to address poverty in this district?
Well, I think it's clear to me as a union organizer that as far as poverty, it's inextricably linked to monopoly power. They set our wages for us. If you're not being paid something that is a sustainable wage, if you don't have the ability to negotiate higher because there's someone next to you that is willing to work for less, these are the same sorts of issues that all need to be, they are connected and they need to be addressed from a monopoly breaking and a busting sort of approach. We started to do that a bit with Lena Khan under the Biden administration, and for the first time in years, where we were finally going after some of these monopoly interests. And to me, it starts there. As I said before, I believe that education, that our public education is a public good, like municipal water, like the fire department. To me, if you have a fantastic education, then I am safer in my life. If you have a fantastic education, then you are going to be, hopefully, not only leading a very rich life, but you're also going to be a little bit more profitable. That helps me negotiate my rate up. This is truly what even the Republicans used to call it, the tide that lifts all boats. Well, it really has to look at it that way. And again, we have to take in, and not from a colorblind point of view, we have to think about redlining and these issues that have taken generational wealth from certain sectors of our people.
Thank you.
Everyone's going to say education. Yes, we need education. We need good teachers. But going to college is not for everyone. And we have to be able to give them avenues to be able to better themselves without having to go to college. That's where our trade schools come in. That's where our military comes in. We have to be able to encourage individuals, doesn't matter who they are, that there are options besides college. College was what fit me, but it doesn't fit everyone. My brother's a master mechanic. He actually has his degree in automotive technology, but he worked with his hands. He loves to work with his hands. And that's what he does. So you have to find something that you love to do and want to do, and then you need to be able to find a way and have someone help you, mentor you along the way to be able to move forward with what your dream is. And we need to have more mentors to be able to do that. And we need to have more people, especially in the high school area, high schools, to show that you can do things that aren't normal and still be able to have a full productive life and still be happy, and not to be said that, you know, you have to go to college, because you don't. And you have to be able to get what you want out of it and what your goals are, and learn how to do that.
Thank you.
Number one, we've got to raise the minimum wage, quite a bit as far as I'm concerned. Put people back to work. I think that first-time home buyers having a real tough time when it comes to establishing themselves in this district. I think if we find some no interest or low interest loans, maybe some Pell Grants or something like that they can put down, and we need to start building starter homes in this district. I'm not talking about McMansions or anything like that. Maybe what we do is we take, here's the thing that I've been thinking about, maybe you can help me out with it. Let's take, back in the day when we were building things and sending people to the moon, the top tax rate was 70%. It's now 35%. Let's take some of that back and maybe find some homeless veterans or something like that, and take that money and house them and get them mental health, and let's put them in the trades. Teach them how to be carpenters and plumbers and pipe fitters and all of that kind of stuff. And then make a financial incentive that we can bring those people to rural America and build starter homes where people can afford to start a family. Now, like I say, they give 5 years to the district, we eliminate their debt. Maybe they find it that they like small town America and they want to stick around. But the first thing we have to do is make sure that we lower housing costs. How about we convert old commercial properties to housing, maybe old shopping malls or something like that. Make sure that our renters have protections against scheming landlords. So my first thing right out on the top of my head is let's raise the minimum wage, and let's make sure that we have a wage where people can afford to buy things, because that seems to be the problem right now. Everything is so expensive.
To me, it starts with education. I am where I am in my life because I went and got an education and I had an opportunity to do that. So we need to make sure we expand opportunities for everyone to get a good education, whether it's a college education or trade school education, a quality high school diploma. That's number one. How you do that, first and foremost, private schools do not get public money, so we get rid of these private school vouchers. Federal funding, absolutely. We can fund our public universities more, so students have to take out less student loans. We can absolutely improve Pell Grants and scholarships or extend them. I mentioned a few times in these discussions, working with private individuals, corporations, small businesses to fund scholarships at universities or trade schools. My wife and I have founded an endowed scholarship at the University of Illinois for veterinary students that are from Southern Illinois, so that we can hopefully support some folks to come back home. These type of things are easy enough programs to reach out to the private sector and work with that and take some of the strain off of the government's back. And we always hear more taxes. That's a way to decrease the reliance on federal funding. Beyond that, we certainly have to increase funding for affordable housing. We need to make sure that it's quality affordable housing. And last but not least, you got to be able to eat. We need to expand SNAP benefit to make sure everybody has access to food.
Thank you. I want to go back to political violence. How are you helping to foster a climate of peaceful dialogue and disagreement?
First of all, you have to listen. You have to be there, you have to actually listen to the person. You know, there are so many that, and even I sometimes have problems with active listening. We gotta make sure you're truly listening to the person and what's going on. And that's what a lot of this stems from, is that nobody's listening. And to be able to, now what was the rest of the question?
The question is, how are you helping to foster a climate of peaceful dialogue and disagreement?
Thank you. I thought that was what it is. It pretty much just, be there and show up and listen. And those are things that you have to do. And those are things that, being as a nurse and being as a mom, you know that you have to listen to people to be able to understand what's going on and hopefully be able to find solutions to that.
Thank you.
You have to go where people are and listen to what they have to say. I've been to 4 or 5 farm bureaus. Can you imagine a Democrat at a farm bureau? Yeah, you want to talk about walking into the belly of the beast. But the first thing I asked them is, when was the last time a politician asked your opinion about anything? And then we start finding common ground. And the thing that I have found out from the farmers that is keeping them down is big ag. They have no place to go, there's no competition, you get your meat packed here and all of that. And so I tell them, I say, you know what? I said, your local representative is taking money from big ag, and they're taking it on the backs of you. And so we find even more common ground. And we negotiate and we talk. And the thing that I think that the Democratic Party's had for a long time is that we're talking to people and at people, but not with people. I have formed a coalition with the union guys all across the district here, from East St. Louis and Collinsville over to Savoy and Champaign, and we talk about things that bring a common ground. I talk to educators. I was talking to the superintendent of Madison County Schools. He is a Republican and really proud of it. We talked for 2 hours about stuff that we agreed upon. About 85% of the conversation was things that we agreed upon. He doesn't get the protesters and all of that, and that's fine. So, and I'm also forming coalitions with small town mayors that you wouldn't think would be Democrats, but we find common ground when I find that one town needs a new tornado siren, another one needs mental health. I'm talking with small businesses, finding out what they need. I'm talking with truck drivers to find out what they need, and I don't have a whole lot in common with truck drivers, but they tell me that they need new rest stops, because if you drive by a rest stop at 7 o'clock at night, it's full. So I have been putting in the work around the district, talking with people who have different opinions than I do, and trying to find some common ground and trying to let them know to trust me well enough to represent them.
All right. With the question, how do we ourselves try to tone down, decrease political violence? I think the first thing is we condemn it on all sides, full stop. It then comes back to, as Jennifer and Randy says, hey, we have to listen first, and we have to try to work on finding common ground. And when I talk about common ground, and certainly issues are part of that, but common ground to me means more common humanity. Recognize the human being in the other person that you're talking with, and it's much easier to like or at least appreciate somebody if you appreciate their humanity first, and then I think we can build out from that and hopefully encourage everybody to our politics are doing it, guys, let's be clear. It's the current administration, our representative, they are stoking this, and they're stoking it intentionally. We've got to stay peaceful. They're looking for a reason to cancel an election or take away your right to vote. We just got to stay peaceful. We've got to stay focused. But again, try to see the humanity in your neighbors, in your community, and work from there.
Well, I think everyone in this room is against political violence. And, as someone who has been a leader for some time, an arts leader, a union leader, I can tell you that, I've worked in 47 states. I've worked abroad. I've led large groups of people, multiple trades, all in the same workplace. And in order to inspire people to work with you and want to work for you and want to listen to you and want to follow your leadership, you have to lead by example. And that modeling is incredibly important. It's every second of every day. You have to meet your coworkers or your voters where they already are. You have to understand their issues, their needs. And you have, as we have just said, you have to listen. Listening is number one, and then being open to, as someone just said, their humanity. We have demonized the right, they have demonized us. There's been a hell of a lot of that going around for some time. It is a trap, and we have fallen into it ourselves. So modeling the right behavior, modeling the right kind of leadership that inspires someone is the gig for this job. I think when it comes down to political violence, yes, we have to absolutely reject it in all forms. I am something of a demonstrator. I make sure I show up. I go to protests. I hope you do too. I make my opinions known. I'm not afraid to tell somebody. I've also never met a stranger either. So being the person you want to be as a leader is the path. Listening to people and making sure that they know that you can be trusted, even though they've heard for some time that you can't.
Thank you. I'd like to stay right there and ask this question. What immigration-related measures would you seek to advance?
Immigration measures I'd like to seek to advance. I'd like to see a path to citizenship that's easier for the people who are escaping horrific conditions and all they want to do is come to America and contribute to our society. I would like to see our DACA families taken care of. I think they're kind of floating in the wind here, what's going on. I believe that this administration has a problem with due process. We want to make sure of that. As I said before, I don't see the benefit in shipping 5-year-olds to detention camps or assassinating our American citizens in the street. That only brings mistrust and more horrors like that. I want to make sure that our farm workers find an easier way to citizenship. They're having problems with avocados in Florida, guys. They can't harvest them. There's nobody there to harvest them. And with Florida, it's kind of like they get what they deserve. But we've got to make sure that those undocumented workers have an easier path. I want to make sure that the families stay together. This is the most horrid thing about this current administration is how they're separating families. We want to make sure that they're together. I want to make sure, like I said, we have a H-2A program, make it easier for farmers. Had something came up the other day. Did you know that fully half of the people nominated for a Nobel Prize this year are immigrants? Half. We want to make sure that those people want to come to America and display their talents and make this a better nation. We all came from somewhere else, folks. Every last one of us. And we won the birth lottery because past generations went through what they had to go through. If you're in this country, you have due process. It's in the Constitution. We need to start living that.
I think certainly ICE in its current form is, like we've mentioned, a disaster, and absolutely deconstructing ICE and either rebuilding it from the bottom or just getting rid of it completely. It didn't exist prior to 2003, and we still had border security prior to that. So there are other ways to do this. Now, we will save a ton of money if we are not funding ICE to the degree that it is now. We can pay more immigration judges, more immigration attorneys to speed this process up. It takes far too long for folks that are trying to do it the right way. So it, to me, encourages, hey, why would I go? The other thing is we've got to stop when they're trying to do what they're supposed to be doing, showing up to their administrative hearings, we've got to stop arresting them. That doesn't make any sense at all. So those are a few things. Now, absolutely, Randy mentioned the H-2A program. We absolutely can extend the time frames there, so we make sure people are here legally, and certainly find ways that they can be here for extended period of time to improve our amnesty programs for folks that have been here, been productive members of our society, regardless if they've gone through it the right way. The way this is being done, I think, just to me breaks my heart. I think it makes you mad. It's not what any of us see as a humane way to do things, and there's just lots of things we can do that will make things better. But I think if we certainly hire more immigration judges, attorneys, speed up the process, we solve a lot of problems.
Well, folks, humanity is really at the heart of this, as we keep saying. For me, I think the first and probably biggest thing that we could do is pass the DREAM Act. That is decades old. It has been adapted over time, and it is, DACA goes pretty far, but the DREAM Act would solve so much more. And guys, it came from Dick Durbin right here in our state. Why are we not passing it? I also want to make sure that people remember that when we're talking about the mistreatment of these workers, that when we're talking about farming, we have used immigrant labor in this country since the Civil War. So the anti-immigration forces in this country that want you to think that it's this new thing and it's been ruining your life today. Well, it is. In the way, not the way they want you to think. It is making everyone unsafe the way that ICE is applying their power. Folks, when you hear complaints about some person making $5 a day and that guy took my job, no. Remember that person is the victim. That person is being exploited. That person is the victim, and any one of us could be that victim next. Every one of us is being exploited in the same way because that employer, Tyson usually, people like this, these mega corporations that get away with this is called wage theft, and we already have laws that we are not enforcing. If we did that alone, it would solve so many of the problems that we have shoved at us on Fox News and the boogeymen that they're trying to scaremonger us into fearing.
My turn. Our immigration system is broken. It's been broken for years. And they actually tried to get a new immigration law passed right before the 24 election. And guess who put a kibosh on that? The current president. And this was a bipartisan, Republican-led new immigration program. So we can do it. We can get it done. It's just we got to make sure we have people there that will help enforce it. We need more money. We need more money for immigration lawyers, immigration attorneys, judges, to be able to speed up the process. It shouldn't take 20 years for someone to become a citizen of the United States. It shouldn't take that long. Because they've already been here. They've been paying the taxes. They've been doing the work. They should be rewarded for that and not have to jump through so many hoops to be able to become a citizen. They shouldn't be arrested after their administrative hearing because they're following the rules. That's what we have to stop. And we have to be able to open our arms to anyone who wants to come to this country legally. But we also have to make sure we do it with empathy and with compassion.
Thank you. The last question before closing remarks. And I know that we're all dying to know the answer to this last question. Why do you want to be the next U.S. representative of 15? Also, how are you qualified for the position?
Kind of falls into my closing remarks, but I want to be the representative for this district because this district is my home. I'm a Highland High School graduate, University of Illinois graduate, both my bachelor's degree and my Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree. So I'm representing home. I've practiced in Madison County for over 33 years, and I think we have been deficient, obviously, in representation. I want to represent everyone in this district, whether you vote for me or not, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. My goal will be to advocate for this district. Why am I qualified? And great question. Number one, I'm a concerned citizen. Our politicians got us into this mess. We're going to have to get ourselves out of it. I'm a veterinarian. Veterinarians are problem solvers. We're confronted numerous times a day with patients that can't speak to us, with owners that are frequently emotional, and we have to come up with a solution that works for everybody. And spoiler alert, it's not always plan A for any number of reasons. Number three, I mentioned my vast political experience as a Bass Club president. Don't know how many Bass Club fishermen you guys know, but there are not a lot of Democrats that are Bass Club fishermen. But what I find is that in conversations with fellow bass fishermen across Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, and Alabama is that there are far more issues that unite us than divide us. So I am passionate about trying to be a uniter and build bridges in this district.
Thank you.
Well, folks, I mentioned the fact that I see what our current occupant of this position has done with her time has been to enrich herself and her family, and to just take from every one of you. That doesn't sit well with me. When she was first elected, and she praised Adolf Hitler and said that one of her favorite things that he did right was organize the youth. These kinds of things are beyond the imagination. I have spent my life in service, protecting people, doing, I think, what's right for people, doing what I'm asked, doing what I'm called to do. And when I have seen her win over and over and over again, I considered it something of a call to action. I have done this kind of work for some time. I have, as I said before, brought millions into people's pockets. I have effectively changed law at the state level. I have helped, through my union organizing and the work that I've done over years, have helped bring about new legislation at the state level that has led to the PRO Act. If we were to pass the PRO Act right now, that would stop right to work nationwide. That's incredibly important for this district. I think that I have a unique set of skills, and I have certainly a passion for helping people. I have spent my life doing that, and that's my big why. I want to help you. I hope that you would elect me to do so, and I'd be happy.
Thank you.
I'm just like everyone else. I'm a nurse. I'm not a politician. I take care of people. I listen to people and try to find solutions. And every so often I yell at doctors. We have to work together. That means being accessible, mostly being accessible since our current one is not, and showing up. Being in the district, working around the district, and that's what I want to do. I care about each and every person in this district. I may not know your name, but sometimes I'll recognize your face and I'll remember things. Because each individual person needs that to be able to feel that they belong and that there's someone that actually that cares what's going on in their lives. That's what I do. I help when it's needed, and sometimes when it's not. But I go and do the job and get the job done. And that's what we need. We need someone who is there to get the job done. My focus will always be on the 15th. If it doesn't benefit the 15th, I'm not voting for it. It has to make sure that it benefits the people here that have put me in this office. And that's what it's all about. You voted me in to represent you. And that's what I do. And that's what I will do, is to devote my time to represent the people here in this district. Because they finally deserve a voice, once again, after being abandoned for almost 6 years. And that's what I want to do.
Thank you.
Well, as I've already told you, I've already put in the work with a number of varied individuals across this district, find out what people need, what people want. You know, I'm not going to Washington to go along to get along, and I'll tell you right now, our current representative is a coward. She's a coward. She takes all of our money out of this district. She does no town halls. Have you had any communication from her returned at all? Anybody have any? No, that's what I thought. And that's one of the reasons that got me in this race. Hey, you know what? I could be hanging with my grandkids or getting my garden ready or riding my motorcycles, but I'm feeling a bigger calling, something bigger than me. My brother was a war hero in Vietnam. On July 12, 1969, his platoon was overrun by the Viet Cong. His platoon leader was killed. My brother called in air support and ground support and got his troops out, but not until he spent the next 18 hours fighting the Viet Cong, hand-to-hand combat. He's buried at Jefferson Barracks in St. Louis, and he has accommodations up his gravestone and on the other side, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, Silver Star, all of that kind of stuff. And the thing that I have always felt, being a younger brother, is a bit of guilt that I wasn't able to do what he did for his country. But if I'm elected your representative, I'm going to narrow that gap a little bit. And that will allow me to, like I said, get rid of some of that guilt, because it was, you know, Vietnam came into our house every night on the news, American casualties. And my family waited 3 years for, thank God, the knock that never came. So that's one of the reasons I am serving this district and would be honored to get your vote, because I feel a sense of duty and a sense of pride, and I feel that our country is so far off the track, we don't know where the track is anymore.
As I mentioned, I've been practicing veterinary medicine in Madison County for over 33 years. All that time building relationships and trust in my community. That has allowed me, through some of these relationships, to begin solving some of the problems that are presenting to me, or trying to be a small part of the solution. I mentioned connecting with Southern Illinois University's community outreach program. I was able to hook the mayor of Palmer up with them, and it looks like they may be able to help him get his tornado siren. So those relationships are an advantage to having been in the community and built these relationships over a number of years. My wife and Karen and I, who is also a veterinarian, founded Davis Pet Hospital in Collinsville in 2012 with the two of us and 3 support staff. At that time, our goal was, I sure hope we can pay ourselves or pay that mortgage off someday, and that great big loan, and certainly maybe take a vacation one day if we can hire an associate. Well, today we have 5 full-time veterinarians. We're in the process of hiring 2 more because one guy's running for Congress. So that's all a moving target, but we have over 20 support staff, and last spring we were in a USA Today poll ranked one of the top 100 animal hospitals in the country. And what that says to me is not so much about me personally, but what happens when you put a diverse group of people together that are working in a common direction. And that would be my goal in this district, is to try to build bridges, bring diverse people together, not only in the communities that you serve, but also, like I said, private industry. We can solve a lot of problems by connections. So that would be my goal. And other endorsements that I have received, the Chicago Tribune did say, their editorial board, that they thought I had the best chance of the four of us to win in a general election. We're all four very good candidates, and I will support whoever gets through this. Our state representative, Katie Stewart, also endorsed us. Karen and I still do live in the 15th district in Collinsville, about a half-mile into the crazy gerrymandered thing with our 2 rescued German Shepherds and a feral cat that wandered into an empty cat trap before we put food in it. So I'd appreciate your vote. Our website is pauldavisforcongress.com. Thank you.
Paul, you went so fast I wasn't able to say closing remarks. All right? You just took the mic and you did. Amen, that's all right. But these are our closing remarks. Each candidate get 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Well, folks, once again, my name is Kyle Nudo. I hope you'll visit our website, kyle4illinois.com. And of course, our socials are everywhere you're looking for a social media hit. You know, folks, I stand to restore the American dream as much as any one person can. As we've mentioned tonight, that is multifaceted. But, you know, one of the biggest things for me is to restore the ability for a single income to afford your life, to be able to buy a house, to send the kids to school, just like it once was, you know, in perhaps the rearview mirror of your mind. I know it is in mine. You know, my mom taught me those kinds of hardworking values. That, you know, we had, you know, fried bologna for dinner sometimes. We got by. We had macaroni and cheese twice a week sometimes too. Still like that recipe, by the way. So when it comes to where we need to go, affordability is one of the biggest things. Making the American dream once again affordable, achievable, and attainable. For me, that starts, as I say, with wages. It is kind of my wheelhouse as a unionist. It is, you know, the heart of my union work. Making sure that people understand that the minimum wage not only needs to be raised, but the minimum wage was once upon a time intended to be, at its inception, a sustaining wage. That's how far we've fallen away from that, folks. The average person on a minimum wage is female, working in fast food, has multiple children, is living in a single bedroom apartment, and that's on 40 hours a week. If the minimum wage was where it should be $68 an hour. That's if it were to keep up with American productivity. It slipped from that in 1973. That's how far back we have to go for it to make sense anymore. We've got so much work to do. Now, as I've said throughout the evening, I have worked in 47 states. I'm a member of 3 labor unions. I'm endorsed by almost a dozen unions, chiefly the AFL-CIO itself. And as I say to a lot of folks all the time, 12 million sisters and brothers that have my back, that ain't bad. I can also say that as someone who has served his sisters and brothers as either the union deputy or the union steward in nearly every job I have ever worked, I am more than qualified and more than eager to be able to put my skills to work, to labor for you. And again, my name is Kyle Nudo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As I said, my name is Jennifer Todd. I've been working hard at this for the past 14 months and going all over the district, over the 17,000 square miles of travel. A lot of 2-lane highways, a lot of country roads, but it's all been rewarding to be able to do that, to be able to meet everyone out there. The reason why I started this is that we needed a choice. And I said, if it's not me, then who? And that's how it all started. And that's how it continues to go. If not me, then who? I've been where everybody else has been. I understand the struggles that everyone goes through. You know, I remember growing up in Centralia that my dad was the only one working for a while until my mom went back to school. And that he got paid once a month. And boy, when that once a month came, we got pizza. So it was just, you know, those things that you remember. But we always had our family. And we need to continue with that, having our family. And that's what I'm fighting for the health care for our family, for our kids to be able to go to school. All of our kids, inclusive kids, be able to be inclusive and have all of our kids be able to go to school, to be able to have them to be able to have the services that they need to be able to go to school. That means we have to enforce and make sure we have Medicaid or have health Medicare for all, because those services help pay for the aides and therapists that are in the schools for our kids. And that's one of the reasons why I was endorsed by the Illinois Federation of Teachers. I'm very excited to have their endorsement. I was also endorsed by the Justice Coalition, that we have to stand up for ourselves once again, and we have to fight for what we know is right, and we have to fight for what is fair. We have to have healthcare is a right. We all have to have healthcare. Going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs when going to nursing school, food, water, and shelter. We have to have all those. And that includes healthcare, to be able to take care of ourselves. And we have to do that for every person around. And that's what I'm fighting for, and that's what I will continue to fight for the people here in the 15th, to make sure our hospitals don't close, to make sure our kids get the services that they deserve and that they need. We have to do that. We have to make sure we leave this world a better place, and right now we're not, and we have to change that.
Thank you.
My website is electrelay.com. That's the same as my Facebook page. And I have to tell you, I'm standing before you. I've had a number of endorsements. The two that mean the most to me is that I've been endorsed by the independent voters of Illinois, because they believe that this election is going to be decided by the independent voters, and they think that I'm the best person to do that. I've also been endorsed by the Young Democrats of Eastern Illinois University, and that gives me pride because these kids know that I'm looking out for their future. My father was a union member, worked at International Harvester for 40 years, paid off his mortgage 10 years early. My mother was a waitress. I'm about as middle class as you can get. But folks, you need to ask yourself a question. You need to ask it today. What kind of Democratic Party do you want? What kind of a Democratic Party do you want representing you? Do you want the party of the past with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, or do you want the party of the future with James Talarico and Jasmine Crockett and Mark Kelly and Ro Khanna and people who are standing up to this administration? That choice is going to be up to you. You have to decide whether we go forward with fear or courage. Myself, I would like to go forward with courage. Now, Dr. Paul has been a great veterinarian all his life. Jennifer has been a great nurse all of her life. Kyle has his acting. I have been a radio guy. I've been a farm guy. I've been a teacher. I've been an ad director. I have been the district manager for Auto Trader. I have done a lot of different things, which gives me a wide background of knowledge and seasoning that I can bring to this district when it comes to representing you. Again, I am honored and very humbled to be in front of you tonight. And I would be absolutely excited and out of my mind if I get an opportunity to represent you in the fall, because that's where I'm going to take my Democratic Party, with the future, with courage, standing up to this administration, making sure that none of these things that are happening are acceptable. Let's get the Constitution in this government again instead of using it as a doormat. So, yes, I'm angry. I'm angry as hell at what's going on, because this is not the America that we took the Pledge of Allegiance for. The last 6 words in the Pledge of Allegiance are, with liberty and justice for all. Is that happening now? Is there justice for Renee Good? Is there justice for Alex Pretty? Is there justice for our minorities? Is there justice for our gay community? Is there justice for women's rights? Is there justice for voting rights? The answer is no, and you have an opportunity to change that. Again, my website is electrayleigh.com. That's where my Facebook page is, and please, again, know how humbled I am to be in front of you today.
Make sure that you keep March 17th in the top of your thought process, in the bowels of your heart. Please get out and vote. It is extremely important. Please give another round of applause for our candidates. And please stand. Let's give a round of applause for the Democratic women of Macon County. Thank you so much. And again, March 17th is the primary. Please, please get out and vote and take someone with you. Amen.